Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for coming along to my session. This is it. It's about mobile. And my name's Grant Ronald, and I work at Oracle. I have for the past 19 years or so, and then 7 years previous to that, I was a developer at EDS Defense, which became HP. So in this session, what I want to do is spend 5-10 minutes at the beginning just to set the scene about mobile and why it might be interesting to you as a consumer, but to businesses, enterprises as well. And then, with the luck of the gods, I'm going to spend most of the time showing some really cool demos, hopefully, of all the tools and products that we're working on within Oracle in the mobile space. So there'll be something for the Java developers, something for the service developers, and something for those of us who don't like to write too much code but like to build applications. So that's what we're going to do. I'll leave some questions if we can to the end because time's really short, but there's coffee afterwards and I can chat as much as you like over coffee or a beer tonight. Okay, so that's the session. Let's get ahead. So the first thing is I'm going to be talking about some of the future things. So some of the products I'll talk about are very close to production, okay, but they're not already there yet. I'm going to start with just a little bit of fun. Now, some of you out there, you look quite young, but does anyone recognize either of those two people here? Anyone? Yes? Oh, Deacon. So the chap on the right here is called Trevor Horn, and the chap on the left, or my left, you're right, Jeff Downs. Jeff Downs played keyboards in a band called Asia, and again, you all look too young to know Asia, or a supergroup called Yes. And Trevor Horn went on to produce a lot of bands, including Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Paul McCartney, and Seal as well. So, was that who you were thinking of? Maybe? No? Okay. But it might all come clear in this next slide. Together they formed a band called the Buggles. Now, does anyone remember the Buggles? Video Killed the Radio Star? Yeah, okay, so that's 2 or 3 of you at least are over 40, the same as me. So, Video Killed the Radio Star was actually the first song ever played on MTV, okay, back in 1979, if you can believe that long ago. Now, why have I got this slide in here? Well, the reason was Video Killed the Radio Star actually had quite a nice sentiment which is relevant to the story. And Trevor Horn, who co-wrote the song, had said that it was written about a time where change was happening. They had radio had been a very popular medium for people, but there was a change coming. There was new technology, and now video was seen as the thing that was going to take over and basically obsolete the radio star. That was the essence of the song. Now, what's any of this got to do with mobile? Well, there's actually a tenuous link. The fact I included this is because it kind of reflects what we do with mobile today, is that mobiles come along. And does mobile change or obsolete the things we're doing currently, building web applications or however we're building applications? And the answer is no. And in the same way as that video didn't kill the radio star, in fact, video became a different channel for consuming music. However, video did have its downside. And those of you who have ever seen a Blockbuster store, and I remember in my teen days or early 20s, a Saturday night would be going to get a video from the video store and sitting watching that. Now, there was many reasons why video stores like Blockbusters closed, but essentially part of the story was about the changes in technology and the fact that we now have Amazon and Netflix can stream music directly to your TV, your devices, your phone, wherever. The thought of getting in your car, driving 5-10 minutes up to the high street to get a video, to bring it back, to watch it, then rewind it and take it back the next day is really pretty crazy. And that's a contributing factor while technology came along and fundamentally changed some businesses that didn't prepare or couldn't prepare for the way technology changed. At this point in this presentation, I quite often talk about Uber, but I recognize that everybody and his dog has a slide on Uber. So all I will say is that it has served as a very good example. In London, where I live, the black cabs, the taxis, it's essentially a 300-year-old business. And it's a closed business, okay? Not anyone can get a black cab. You've got to be licensed. You've got to pass a certain exam. You've got to get insurance. You've got to buy a certain type of car as well. Now, that's a closed business for 300 years, and suddenly Uber comes along, completely changes how that business works. Again, technology has come along and changed how businesses work. The last example, very briefly talk about, is this. Now, I don't remember this, but I vaguely remember this as a bank, that you had a paying in book, and you take money along to your bank, and they would write in the book how much you pay in or how much you take out. Very different now. I mean, we do banking on our phones, we do it on the internet, mostly from home, I think, now. But let me ask you a question. What do you think is the busiest banking branch in the UK at the moment? Yeah? Jersey? A good point, yes, especially for some of these big corporations. No, and it's not London, it's not one of your major high streets. It is, in fact, the 701 from Reading, where the Oracle offices are, out to Paddington. More people do banking transactions on that train than actually go into a bank and do a transaction. So again, all of this is just really a way of expressing how things have changed. The world has changed, and mobile is no different from any of the other elements in our life that's changed. And those people who adopt to the change or adapt to the change, ultimately the ones that succeed. So how does this relate to you as individuals? So here is a millennial, young-looking guy, probably in his 20s. What's missing from this guy? Something obvious. Exactly. He's missing a mobile phone. Okay? What is it? It's something like we look at a mobile phone 150 times a day. Millennials spend something like 26 hours a month just on apps. And we spend something like 94% of our time, the mobile phone is never more than a arm reach away. Okay? Why? Why is it so important? Why is this lifeline that we keep in our hands that we don't want to get away? And the fact is that, and I experienced this myself, having a mobile phone really takes Dave, who's this guy here, and turns him into Super Dave. Now, why is he Super Dave? Well, Super Dave because this device gives him superpowers. It gives him super intelligence. Okay? On the way out on the flight, I could actually do a heck of a lot of reading up on Riga, what it's like as a city, where to go, where the hotel is, a bit of culture, background. Anything I can't find, I can Google there as well. Vision, I can take photos, I can capture information visually using my mobile device. Hearing. An interesting fact I heard recently is Shazam, that allows you to grab or check music. Recently, the Adele song Hello was the most Shazammed song in history. Now, why does any of that matter? Well, the fact is it gives record companies an idea of where people are listening to music at what point and maybe to what stimulus. So if Adele's planning her next tour, it's possibly going to start in Los Angeles because more people were Shazamming her songs in that location. Communication, okay? So at any point we can communicate either textually, informationally through Facebook, social channels. We can record emotions. We can track people's emotions depending on they like or dislike something. Facebook's recently changed to add different levels of like. We can monitor health through Fitbits, these kind of devices as well. Touch. There's an insurance app in the UK now which will record how you're driving based on a number of factors, including speed, and no doubt the fact if you're accelerating quickly or fast around corners. And one of the most amazing things about this mobile device is it has information that's specific to where you are. And this is something that really takes mobile applications into a different level from our traditional desktop or web applications because we now have context. It's no longer an application that's just about I'm sitting in the office doing something. I now have indications about where you physically are in the world, what you're doing, where you're going to, where you've passed, the proximity to other people. And I can convey information, I can push information to you through your mobile device on the basis of all this type of information. Most common example I use is, Starbucks have got an app, and I travel a lot. So with my Starbucks app, if I'm in a city, a new city, don't really know the layout, but Starbucks knows I'm there. Starbucks knows I like a particular coffee in the morning, and therefore can push notifications, say, hey, did you know you're only 200 meters from the nearest Starbucks? Press this button now and we'll get your coffee ordered for you. Just a whole different way of doing business, or a whole different way of interacting with your consumers, whether it's employees or customers or whatever, because we have information about context, about what you're doing and where you are. So that's the setting the scene part. That's why mobile is important, not just for us as individuals, but for companies. So what is Oracle planning, or what's Oracle doing in the mobile space at the moment? And I want to show you some, can't show you all, but some of the tools and products we're building around the mobile application development. Now, there are a number of broad areas in which Oracle supports development. There is the development of the apps themselves. We have various frameworks and technologies for building the on-device applications or web apps as well. The integration, because your mobile device has to get its data from somewhere. So typically that will be from a back-end system that probably or possibly hasn't been designed for mobile consumers. So we have to do some sort of mashing up of data or information so that it's specific for your mobile consumers. So there's the back-end integration. Security, okay? Because I'm pushing out my app from an app store to customers, but I obviously don't want to give them complete access to my back-end systems. How do I map security? And analyze. Having spent the effort of building this mobile application, and having listened to this session where I told you how important mobile is, how can you actually tell that this mobile app's being used? Are people, you can maybe find out how many people are downloading it, but are they connecting and using your app? And how are they using your app? Are they successfully navigating pages? Are they going to the shopping cart, but 80% of users are rejecting or not completing the transaction? Can you get information about that? That's another area where we're adding a lot of functionality and tools. And of course, we also build mobile apps ourselves. So if you were a consumer, for example, of our e-business suite, if you had an HR system from Oracle, then we could give you a mobile app that would allow you to manage your holidays or manage your time cards, whatever it is as well. So we're involved in a number of different areas in terms of mobile development. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a tool or product called Mobile Application Framework. So this is a framework for building on-device mobile applications. It is a hybrid framework, so it's based on JavaScript and HTML for rendering the user interface. So it's cross-platform. So you build once, but you can deploy on iOS, Android, and Windows is on the roadmap as well. And how many people are Java developers? Okay, great. So we package up a JVM as part of that framework as well. So you, as the on-device mobile application developer, can use JavaScript or Java as your programming language. That means any of you here who are Java developers, you can add that you're an iOS developer to your resume as well, because with math, you can build applications using Java to run on iOS. So what do we provide in math? We provide a JVM. We also provide a list or a library of components ranging from simple text boxes to check boxes to text fields up to some of the more exotic graphical components that you can see here. And we provide, as part of the framework, a way for you to bind these components to your local business code that's running on device, or bind them to remote services. Typically, that would be REST services as well. We also provide a very simple way to integrate with application features like camera and GPS and the contacts. And it comes with a SQLite database as well, so you can work offline. So typically, you could build your application such that it communicates with back-end systems. However, it will go to the local database if you lose signal. So that's a mobile application framework, and I'm going to show you a very quick demo of MAF in action. Okay. How many Eclipse users in the audience? Okay, a couple of you. So don't worry about the details of what I'm going to do here, but just get the experience of what development's like. I'll do this as quickly as possible. So I'm going to build a new MAF application, and let's call it Riga Dev Day. Okay, Riga Dev Day, and in here you'll see there is a file called the MAF feature editor. A mobile application, a MAF mobile application, composes of a number of features, and a feature is just like a use case. Okay, so a use case would typically be 3 or 4 screens to do a particular action. So I'll build an application based on, let's say, 2 very simple features. So one feature we'll call the help system, because we need people to be able to work out how to use this mobile app. So help. And the content for the help system, we will just make a local HTML file. I'll create the file, I'll call it help. And in here, we'll make the world's easiest help system, which says, this is the help system. Okay. Let's create another feature. This is something a little bit more using the power of mobile application framework. Let's create a feature called HR, because this allows us to view employee information. So, okay. And let's add this feature. And this feature will be based on what we call a task flow. And a task flow is just a collection of pages that flow together, that do a particular use case. So let's call this HR task flow and finish. And here's our blank page. So this is our whiteboard. We now start designing this part of the application. So let's have a page at the beginning in which we show employees. Let's see. Okay. And let's create another page which shows a graph. And let's put a navigation one to the other, show graph. Okay? So I'm giving you an idea of how simple the development here at this point. But we've built a page and we can navigate to another page. However, let's actually create those pages now. So if I double click here, I can create the page. Here's a template for laying it out. There we go. And let's change the header to say employees. And on this button here, let's change the properties. Let's change the text to graph. And on pressing the button, there's something called behavior. Do show graph. Okay? What that means is when I press that button, do show graph. What's show graph? Show graph navigates to there. Okay? Let's create this page. Call it graph. Let's just have one button on here. Finish. And we'll header. We'll call graph. And we've also got a button here. And in this button, we will put the label back. And the behavior will be to go back. Pretty simple so far. I've created a feature, 2 pages, navigate back and forward the button, nothing on the pages yet. Okay, let's create something. Now, as I mentioned, typically you might connect data to a back-end REST service, for example, but I'm going to keep it a little bit so I can show you the Java side. I'm going to create a Java class here. Let's do File, New, Java class, and we'll call this employee. Okay, and in here I'll do, because no one wants to see me writing code in a presentation, but basically all I've done is create a Java object or a class which defines an employee which has got a name, an email, a salary, and a hire date. That's all that class does. I'll create a second Java class very quickly, which does File, New, and again Java class, and we'll call this one employee service. Okay, an employee service will be basically instantiating that class 6 or 7 times and filling it with data. Okay, so that's all I've done. So let's save everything there. Now what I'm going to do, a little bit of magic. If I double click here and say model, create data control, what I'm doing is actually creating an interface, a standard interface on top of that Java class that makes it very easy for me to bind that to data. So I'll go OK. And what I mean by that is let's go back to our employees screen, data, and here's the employees service object that I created earlier. Okay, so if I just drag that on here, I can drag that on as a list. And let's do it something like this. Next. And let's show the name and the email address. Let's have dividers on name and just do it on the first letter. Finish. Okay. So save that. And graph, I'll do the same thing. I'll drag in that same business object that I've created. And I'll show that as a chart, a bar chart. There you go. There's a very simple bar chart. And the x-axis will be the person's name. Okay. And the bar will be their salary. Okay, that's it. Don't know how long that, 5 minutes. I created a 2-page mobile app. Now, what I can do is I can do run, and at this point, I can decide how I run this, okay? I'm on iOS at the moment, so I can run and generate out an iOS or an IPA file, or it could be an APK file for Android, if I have the Android SDKs installed, or I can run it through the emulator. It takes about 2 minutes, so I've got one which I think's already started, which will be here, which is, here you see it running in the simulator, and here if I go to HR, there's the list of data, and I have a graph there and back, okay? So that's the app that I've essentially built. Can we swap to the iPad for a second? Now, I would hate to think that what I've just shown you in that simulator is as good as a math application looks. And it's not the case, because here is one that took a lot longer to create, but shows you the potential of what you can build with mobile application framework. So this is an HR application, and let me log in as Stephen. So I tap on Stephen. You'll hopefully see that this is fully responsive. Everything resizes appropriately. Let's look at the organization. So let's look for information. I've tapped on those. That's gone to a REST service, and I can pull down and scroll through. One of the things that's sometimes questioned about hybrid applications is the performance as good as absolute native applications? And the answer is always, as we all know, writing code natively is always the absolute option. However, if you see things like the scroll speed that we're going through here, there's no lag, even though that is actually getting data and caching it from a REST service. We've got various different gestures I can support by sliding in and out. Let's pick Sundar, and let's look at information about him. Here we can see where he's based. I can look at his performance, and we can visualize lots of different ways using the mobile application framework components, the graphs and different types of charts. Look at his compensation. Yeah, he's been pretty well compensated, and schedule as well. Okay, his diary's pretty clear there. There's nothing to show. Okay. And we'll flip back to here. But that is a mobile application framework application. You saw me building it, and I will not try to tell you I can build that application as quickly and with less code than as I've just done here. There's a lot more effort involved here, but that is the end goal, and that is what you've seen is the general development experience, okay? So that's building a mobile application. However, the reality is that's the easy part, okay? Because the tough part is when you start to bring your data from different backend sources that were probably never imagined that they could be used for mobile applications. So in this example, you might find that what looks like one page of data is actually bringing information from Google Maps services, SAP, your core HR system, Taleo, Right Now systems, wherever, okay? Bringing all that information down. Now, we all know that battery life and processing power is limited in these things. So what we can't do is say, oh, we'll send down everything and let the mobile device mash up what it needs. The sensible thing to do is say, well, actually, what does the mobile app need? And we'll only send the data that you need. So for example, in my HR system, an employee record might include 100 attributes, but the mobile app only needs to see 6 or 7 of those attributes. So don't make the mobile app do the processing, do it at the back end, and only send the information it needs. So how do we do that? Well, we've got a solution for that, Oracle Mobile Cloud Service. So this was launched about 8-9 months ago. It's a mobile cloud service which allows you to do a number of factors for mobile device application development. So the first thing it does, it provides you a centralized place in which you can mash up data from your back-end services, okay? So if your mobile app needs data from systems A, B, and C, you can allow the mobile cloud service to get that information and then only pull out the attributes it needs and present that as a mobile-specific API, okay? So your mobile developer could say, for this screen, I just need to get the employees and I need his name, his salary, his location, wherever, okay? And the service developer who uses mobile cloud service would scope up that API. They could put in some dummy data and your mobile developer can go off and build against that. And at a later point, they can then say, okay, how do we access our various backend systems? Some of them are SOAP, some of them are REST services, but bring them all together and mash that data down. So it does give you the ability to design mobile-specific APIs, but it also supports all the other mobile things you will need, like, for example, push notifications. Okay, if you are using iOS and Android devices, then you have 2 different vendors, Apple and Google, who manage the push notifications on your behalf. What Mobile Cloud Service allows you to do is only have one interface for managing push notifications, and it works out if I've got to send this to APNS or the Google Cloud. It can also do things like send push notifications only depending on who your users are. Okay, here's a push notifications only for managers of the HR system. Here's a push notification that's only going to go to people who are within 50 miles of HQ, for example. We also provide things like file storage, database, and image storage. This is quite useful because you've seen in the demo that mobile apps use a lot of images. So those images have got to be stored somewhere. But it would probably be a big task to ask your back-end systems to add a new blob column in the database to put in a picture of each of your users. Well, rather than changing the back-end system, you can use the storage and mobile cloud service to store mobile-specific images, for example. And it also includes things like offline synchronization. So this is the point that and there's a really good example. We have a customer in New York who records crashes on bridges and tunnels, and they do that using iPads. Now, obviously, if you're in a tunnel recording that there's been a crash, you don't necessarily have wireless signal. So they can do that on an offline basis, and as soon as they go back to the office, or as soon as they get cellular signal, they can sync the data back. And Oracle Mobile Cloud Service includes all this stuff. The architecture, I should also mention analytics. So we talked about you've spent the money on building a mobile application, but you also want to know how it's being used. So Mobile Cloud Service will track who's calling the APIs, where they're calling them from, what device they're using, and you can also have application-specific events as well. So within your mobile app, you can say, I want to know if the user gets to this screen, and if they get to this screen, what information have they typed in this field? Okay, that's useful. Okay, so in a shopping application, you might want to know, are people putting things in their cart but not checking out? Or for something that repairmen use, are they searching on a common error code? Okay, because if they're always searching on this error code for a washing machine, then maybe we could do some training beforehand or add extra information to our manuals. So analytics, we can gather that as well through MCS. So there's the broad architecture. MCS sits in the cloud. Your on-premise or cloud backend systems, you can connect via SOAP or REST services. And within the cloud, you shape the services you need to be mobile-specific APIs for your mobile consumers. And those mobile consumers can be math applications. They could be Android, iOS, Xamarin, Sencha, JavaScript, whatever you want. We support all those different clients. So just as a very quick look at mobile cloud service, if I go here, this is Oracle Mobile Cloud Service, and this here is where you would typically, as a mobile developer, you would define your APIs. So here I might say, let's see, well, I could create a new API. Let's open one. So for my API, I can see I have a number of resources and endpoints. So I can get employees. I can get employees by ID. I can get departments and get departments ID. These are REST services that you're building up. Within Mobile Cloud Service, I look at, for example, get employee by ID. That's a get. I can actually define some response data, so dummy response data. So by setting this up, I can now say to my mobile developer, okay, you wanted to be able to have a REST service that got employee based on ID. Well, here's a service you can call in Mobile Cloud. It returns some dummy data, but you can go and start building now. I'll connect it to the real backend system later. And you connect it through things like our connectors. So currently we support REST and SOAP connectors, and they will take care of things like the policies and security that you have to apply to those. But we're also adding things like connectors to our integration cloud service and various other legacy products as well. And I'll have a quick look at analytics. And I don't think we have any analytics loaded into this instance, but here I can see who's using my app, where they're using it from. I can look at, based on APIs, who's been calling particular APIs, how often they've been called, response times, etc. And I can drill into, and again, we haven't got them set up here, but custom events. So that's any events that I put in the mobile application. Has someone got to this screen? Have they pressed this button? We can capture those as well. Okay, so that's Oracle Mobile Cloud Service in like 5 minutes. Time moves swiftly. So I'm going to get to the really exciting bit. So we've shown you how you can build on-device mobile applications using Java, Mobile Application Framework, how you can connect to backend systems using Oracle Mobile Cloud Service. And this is something which is very close to being released now. And this is a product we're calling Max, Mobile Application Accelerator. And this will be a feature of MCS. What Max does is it allows you to build on-device mobile applications very much as a, let's call it a business developer, as a citizen developer. Okay, so it's all about assembling applications rather than having to code applications. Now, the best way of showing this is a demo. So let me go back to a demo here. So this is Max. So I'm going to create a new application. Now, let's say I'm creating an application that's going to be used by repairmen, okay, who fix washing machines, for example. So here's an application called Fix It Fast. We've got a couple of templates and how the screen looks. Let's try this one. This template, that looks fine. And let's get the screen title. Let's call it Incidents, because we're tracking people who have incidents with their washing machine. And on tab 1, we want to show a dashboard. And on tab 2, we'll show some sort of list of information. Next. And let's pick this kind of layout for our dashboard. There we go. Okay, so now I can start defining what this application kind of looks like. So let's lay this out a little bit better. So if I go, sorry, it's because the screen resolution for me is rather small. There we go. Okay, so let's stretch that one across there. And let's have 3 columns. Okay. So in this this layout here, let's drop some components in. So here's our component palette on the left, and let's drop in a couple of these metric components. 1, 2, and 3. And let's define the labels for those. So this will be how many high priority incidents have we got? So high priority incidents do we have? And let's show that as red. How many medium priority incidents do we have? Just as blue. And how many low priority incidents do we have, which will show in red, show in green, and that will be low. Okay. And let's add another tile at the bottom there, and let's stretch that one out. And in here, let's bind this to some data. Now, at the point I go to data, I am actually going to go into MCS and look at any of the APIs that I've already developed, okay? So there's a bunch of APIs that I've developed that are specific to this mobile application called Fix It Fast. And there is a resource called incident statistics, which returns 3 properties, high, low, or normal. It returns a number within those. So for that first field, I want to show the whatever value is in the high property from that REST call. And because I want to do it for a specific user, we can pick and filter it by username. And let's do this one, medium. And again, data, incident statistics, normal. And again, we only want to see it for the currently logged in user. So we're filtering that. And let's look at all low priority incidents. Let's look at our incident statistics object again, and that's low. Next. And that's by name. Finish. Okay. And you can see that's actually showing live data now, okay, because I've bound that to a service that's in mobile cloud service, which returns data, and it's actually returning the data for the currently logged in, the default user. Now down here, I'm going to add a graph. Let's add a line chart. And I could drop it on here. There we go. And I can change the layout of it. There we go. And let's bind that to data. And this one is going to be bound to a different REST service, which will be technician performance. Now what technician performance does is it provides 3 bits of data. It tells me the technician, the month, and how many incidents he's dealt with, or he or she's dealt with. So this graph needs to be bound to X, Y, and a color series. So the X coordinates will be month, the Y will be incident count, and the technician will be there. And actually I can do a live preview, and that's based on all users, so we're not going to limit it. And again, that will show you a live preview of data that it's been brought back from the mobile cloud service. Okay, and then list. Here we're going to bind some data to a list component. So again, let's find our list component here. And again, I'll just times against this, I'll pick the default layout, but I'll add some data. And that list component is going to be bound with incidents, because we want to show what incidents are currently open that this technician can deal with. So there's another REST service within mobile cloud service, which is bringing back information about incidents. A GET request that brings back incidents. So again, this layout requires these fields, and it's up to me how I map them. Okay, title could be let's say the problem. Value 1 could be status. Doesn't really matter. Subtitle we could have as customer's first name and their last name, and the last field down here could be what time it was created on. And although we don't have an image, I could do something like priority, which I know is 3 values, and map those values to say, well, if the priority value comes back low, we show this image. If it's medium, we show this image. And if the value comes back as high, we show that image. Let's finish that. And again, we can see that for a specific technician. So let's filter it to only show incidents which can be assigned to that technician. There we go. Now, it's worth recognizing as well, I'm doing this on my PC. This is a cloud service. I could equally connect, in fact, save this and connect to my iPad and continue developing on the iPad as well. And again, we're showing live data here as well. So, having created a list, you might want to see the details. You might want to select an incident and say, well, I need to see the details of that incident. So I can just add a detail screen here. Add a detail screen, looks something like that. Jump ahead, what's our title? Details. And the tabs here could be summary and customer. And let's have a layout that looks something like that. And again, the development of this screen is no different from what I've done before in that I can generate out. So let's go back to here. And there I can actually see, this is, I've jumped ahead because time is really short, how I've essentially created not only seeing the details screen, but how to create a details. And because editing details is really just taking what's on this screen and giving it as a form, and similarly a create screen, then it can create those automatically. And there you can see the flow of a screen, which I've built in, I don't know, what, 7 or 8 minutes with no code. Now, how does that actually become an application that you use on your mobile device? And this is the neat thing. This is the point I said, build. And what will happen is it will go away and it will build the metadata for this application. And although I cannot show it now, because again, time's against us, I've got a container app on my mobile phone. What I can do now is scan that code. It will download the metadata into my container app, which is a native app, and you will get that application now on your phone. Okay? So that is how you can build mobile applications with no code. I think that's pretty neat stuff now. Okay, so that's Max, coming very soon as part of Oracle Mobile Cloud Service. So I'm hoping that's been useful for you. What have we learned in the last 45 minutes? Well, the first thing we've learned is Video Killed the Radio Star was the first song played in MTV. I've hopefully enlightened you about 1970s music, or 1980s music, right on the cusp. What else did we learn today? The second thing, those of you who were Java developers, hooray, you can now ask for a 50% pay rise because you're now iOS developers. And that's a very, very valuable commodity, being an iOS developer. Oracle Mobile Application Framework, you can build once, deploy to iOS, Android, and Windows is on the roadmap. What's the third thing we learned? Cloud and mobile go together. The mobile development you saw with Max is actually cloud-based. The math application development was more traditional development based here, but they were exploiting and really needed to use the cloud as a way of providing the APIs to back-end systems, and that's what Oracle Mobile Cloud Service provides for you as well. And even I can build a mobile app, okay? It was very quickly done, but I built 2 mobile apps, one with Java, one without. If you have anything else you want to ask, then I'm happy to hang around here. My Twitter handle is Ronald, so please follow me. I'm trying to talk a little bit more about the various technologies and things we're doing. My team have also developed a whole bunch of training, okay? So if you purchase Oracle Mobile Cloud Service or Mobile Application Framework and you want to learn it, we can come on site and help you, or the whole stuff is for free on YouTube as well. And we have an official Twitter handle for our Oracle Mobile channel as well. 1 minute and 9 seconds. Do anyone have any questions? Yes. Run, run, run. Oh, shout. I can hear you.
Okay, so basically, thank you. The question is about as I'm a developer, what I need to start. Do I need to pay for something, or I can start it for free?
Right. So the question was, do you need to pay anything here? So mobile application framework, MAF, that I saw demoed, that I developed here, Java, you can download everything you need for free from OTN for evaluation purposes. You can use JDeveloper or Eclipse for that. So that, in terms of using it, is something you can use. At the point you want to deploy in production, there is a license for mobile application framework. However, if you purchase the mobile cloud service, then you can build as many math applications as you want, and they are included in the license, so no extra cost.
Okay, thank you. And the second question is about the UI stuff. So how it's manageable? So can we do the custom controls or something, or manage existing controls? What
So
do
you want to build your own controls?
Yeah, because the customers
Yeah.
also always want to do something new.
Good question. So the answer is yes, you can. That said, there becomes a diminishing level of returns because one of the advantages of math is that it provides so much of the stuff out of the box. Now, you can build your own components and you can fine-tune the CSS to have a different look and feel, but there becomes a point where that is a lot of effort. But yes, you can essentially do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll take this question then. I think we have to go, but
You weren't specifically clear, but I assume with math, if you want to develop iOS, you also need a Mac and Xcode.
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And from the screenshots we saw and things like that, I'm guessing the general apps you're going to create are enterprise, traditional Oracle territory. I didn't see anything particularly different there that I wouldn't be building sort of non-enterprise type apps.
That's correct. And this comes back to the question about the look and feel. If you want the absolute control of look and feel and everything else, if you're writing Facebook, for example, then you might go for a native opportunity. This has its absolute sweet spot in enterprise applications, or what we call the soldier apps. Hey, our HR department needs these apps, or time entry needs these apps, and so it's more, that's the more comfort zone. It doesn't mean you couldn't, but that's the sweet spot. Okay. Well, look, I'm around for coffee. I'm certainly around for beers afterwards. Please come up. Any questions? I'm more than happy to help. Thank you very much.